The Premier League is boring. Stop, you don't have to tell me how many points clear Liverpool are. Alright, but seriously, the title race has been decided, like it'll be done by April, and don't even get me started on the relegation battle. So what's even left? The battle for European football. That's what. Quickly before we dive into the chaos, here's just like a brief explanation to make things a little more clear. The top 4 in the Premier League qualify for the Champions League. Yes, there's a chance that a 5th team could qualify for next season, but just to make things less confusing, we're just gonna ignore it. Meanwhile, 5th and 6th qualify for the Europa League. And then finally, 7th qualifies for the Conference League. Yeah, pretty simple stuff there. We'll begin this at the beginning of December, match day 14. So far, everything is really close in the fight for Europe. To really emphasize it, last year there was already a 7-point gap between 2nd and 7th after 14 games. This year though, 8 points separate 2nd and 12th. So far, the Champions League spots are Chelsea, Arsenal, and City. Besides Chelsea performing a lot better than expected, nothing too surprising there. But then 3 points from the Champions League spot is a Brighton side guided by a manager from Zweite Bundesliga. Zweite mentioned, what the fuck is a league leader? It gets better though. A point behind them are Fulham and a Nottingham Forest team that avoided relegation on the final day of the last season. Aston Villa, who are just coming off a rough November, sit 8th tied with them. Bournemouth, who many thought wouldn't be as good, are 9th right now. Right at mid-table is the team with the 2nd best attack in the Premier League, but an even more impressive hospital bill. Tottenham. Finally, in 11th and 12th, you got the Jameis Winston of the league, Brentford, and then Newcastle, who have had a bit of a slow start. Wait a minute, where's Man United? Oh, there they are. Match day 15, Tottenham were looking like they would end Chelsea's 5-game win streak early on, but then they blew a 2-0 lead as the Blues put 4 unanswered on the Lily Whites' heads. And with Arsenal and City dropping points, Chelsea are now 2 points clear of the rest of the pack. This also opened the door for Brighton to hop into a Champions League spot, but they conceded 2 goals to Leicester in the last 4 minutes of the game and blew a 2-0 lead. And because everyone's so close in this 5th to 10th mix, Brighton and Fulham dropping points sees Aston Villa hop over them. Bournemouth also skips over Fulham after their last-minute comeback versus Ed Sheeran FC, as does Brentford thanks to their 4-2 win versus Newcastle. Match day 16, Chelsea get a 5th straight win versus Brentford, and they're now 4 points clear from 3rd because Arsenal couldn't score against 15th place Everton at home. But someone having it even worse right now is reigning champions Man City, who blew a 1-0 lead at home to lose 2-1 in the Manchester Derby. And by the way, this Manchester United side isn't very good. This now means though, they've won just 1 of their last 7 league games. We're not done with the smash and grabs though. Forest snatched victory away from Villa like Thogden stealing a kid's glove with 2 goals in the last 3 minutes. And this sees Forest move up to 4th after 16 games. And Unal saves 8th place Bournemouth with a wonderful clutch free kick, and even though they only won a point, the Cherries move up to 6th with the help of Villa and Brighton dropping points. Meanwhile, Tottenham beat up on the league's whipping boys to jump into 10th at Brentford's expense. And now is probably a good time to mention that 12th place Newcastle is only 5 points from 4th. Match day 17, and it appears that no one can score against the utter woke nonsense man. And that sees Arsenal close the gap between them and Chelsea after the Gunners destroyed the Glasner house. Get it? Because their coach is. Nottingham Forest win their 3rd straight after scoring 2 past 11th place Brentford to remain 4th. And 5th place Man City lose again, this time to 7th place Aston Villa, who hop over City, as does Bournemouth, who slapped up the other Manchester team. So after all that, Pep Guardiola's City are 7th in the league. Now from 8th to 11th, everyone dropped points. 8th place Fulham dropped points versus Liechtenhampton. All Brighton's autumn is seeing so far is a falling in the table. Meanwhile, Tottenham Hospital and Brentford both lose. So thanks to an Alexander Isak hat-trick, Newcastle go from 12th all the way to 8th. And into matchday 18, Newcastle are on fire as they trash 6th place Aston Villa. And with the help of Bournemouth's stalemate and Haaland's saved penalty versus Everton, Newcastle in just 5 days moved from 12th all the way up to 5th. However, it's just not the 24-25 season without another comeback in the last 10 minutes, as 8th place Fulham steal one away at Stamford Bridge versus Chelsea. With that result, Fulham now move above Villa to 8th, and Chelsea go down to 3rd because of Arsenal's win versus Ipswich. 10th place Brighton and 12th place Brentford played out a 0-0 draw, and while nothing happened for the Seagulls, Brentford slides to 11th thanks to Forest's 1-0 win versus Spurs. Now, quick side note. I worked on this script at my local cafe because for once I finally decided not to be lazy and explore the new city I live in. But if you know anything about cafe Wi-Fi, it's unsafe. It exposes your personal information to anyone there. And yeah, most of the cafe goers are chill, but what if one is actually a Parisian spy trying to avenge his finished club? Well yeah, then I'm really done for. Thankfully though, Surfshark VPN has me covered. Surfshark has humanized privacy and security solutions to safeguard my data. I can also browse the internet without having to worry because Surfshark will encrypt my internet activity, block ads, and malware. But Surfshark has also helped me make the content better for you guys. When I was working on the Fight the Bundesliga video, I quickly realized that highlights of the league aren't available in the States. But thanks to Surfshark, one click on the German flag and boom! It's like I'm celebrating Oktoberfest and eating Lukas Podolski's meat. However, you're not limited to just Germany. Surfshark has over 3,200 servers in 100 different countries. And today, I got a fantastic deal for y'all. If you use my link displayed on the video or in the description, you can get Surfshark for an extra 4 free months. And there is no risk in trying this out because Surfshark has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So use my link surfshark.com/Mac to access region-locked content anywhere in the world and keep your private information safe. And a big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Match day 19 and Happy New Year Ipswich Town. Chelsea was nice enough to gift you guys your first home win in the Premier League since April 2002. That is now consecutive losses for the Bully Boys. Meanwhile, going the other direction is Nottingham Forest, who continue their inspiring run, thanks to 400 million euros, with a 5th straight win to overtake Chelsea. 5th place Newcastle, without lifting a thumb, took down Man United away, and because of the Chelsea loss, the gap between 4th and 5th is down to 3 now. 6th place Bournemouth dropped points versus 8th place Fulham, while City finally break their 4-game winless run to swap spots with the Cherries. And Fulham remain where they are as 9th and 10th played out a 2-all draw. Match day 20, let's talk about 6. Forest with a win away versus Wolves means they have now won 6 straight times, the longest streak so far this season. And seeing Forest's aura, Arsenal pissed themselves versus Brighton, and that now means both teams are tied on points. Meanwhile, 4th place Chelsea continue to have an awful start to the new year and choke up a lead versus Palace. And with 5th place Newcastle extending their win streak to 5, the Magpies are now just 1 point from the Champions League. Man City and Bournemouth both collect 3 points, so 6th and 7th remain the same. 8th place Fulham had to escape Ipswich at home with a last-minute penalty, so that sees Aston Villa swap places with them because they can actually beat relegation candidates. Brighton remain chillin' in 10th, while Tottenham and Brentford just continue trading the same exact spot. Finally though, we're starting to see the gap grow, so let's just quickly review the chaos. So far outside Liverpool, the Champions League spots are held by Arsenal, Forest, and Chelsea. Still though, all those spots are up for grabs as there's just 8 points separating 2nd and 8th. Also, teams in 9th to 11th are just 7 points from the 2nd Europa League spot. So that said, goodbye 12th place. We don't need you anymore. Match day 21, if we get another 6, people are going to start thinking the Premier League is devil worship. Newcastle tie Forest's win streak of 6, and because Chelsea still can't get a win in 2025, that means they're out of the top 4, and we have a new member of the council. This also opened the door for City to pass Chelsea, and they were on track going 2-0 up early on. But once again, they fucked it because their defending is as criminal as their business dealings. Even Chelsea's opponents Bournemouth could have at least tied with them on points had they not conceded that Reece James free kick. And unfortunately for them, it's either eat or be eaten, as Aston Villa overtake them for 7th with a win. Brighton move up to 9th after winning for the first time since November 23rd. Meanwhile, Fulham dropped to 10th after losing to West Ham. Going back to 3rd place Forest though, their win streak comes to an end after drawing 1-1 with Liverpool, but I mean, it's a draw with Liverpool. This, however, does see Arsenal go 2 points clear of 3rd after they won in the North London derby. Match day 22, those 2 points immediately evaporate though, as Arsenal bottle a 2-0 lead versus Aston Villa and Forest beat Southampton. Also, 4th place Newcastle's win streak comes to an end after being absolutely obliterated in front of their own fans by Bournemouth. And Chelsea finally won in 2025, so they immediately return to the top 4. City also hop over Newcastle into 5th after turning Ipswich into a wasteland. Eat or be eaten strikes again. After overtaking Bournemouth because of their draw, they now feel what it's like because despite an emphatic comeback versus Arsenal, Bournemouth with their win says, we don't care.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
9th place Brighton only get to see their kids 2 times a year, but they sure do make it count. Their position doesn't change though, and the same goes for Fulham and Brentford as well. Match day 23, down goes Forest's 8-game unbeaten run. And Jesus Christ, Bournemouth. 11 games unbeaten now. With a stat like that, you'd think it'd be Man City, but no, it's Bournemouth.
Nacho Libre, Spider-Man, thank you for being here. But
You know, you gotta look at Doby. Doby's a hard guy to beat right now. Doby's a hard guy to beat right now.
These results are really starting to pay off though, with them just 1 point from the Champions League spots now. Forest though weren't the only top 4 team to suffer defeat. 4th place Chelsea lost to Man City, which now sees the Citizens back in the top 4. Alright, fun's over, guys. Meanwhile, tied with City on points is Newcastle, who move over Chelsea into 5th. Honestly, Chelsea, Newcastle, and even Man City have single-handedly made this race for the last Champions League spots so much more interesting. Because Villa, despite a draw, are just 4 points away, while Brighton and Fulham, despite losing, are still within 7. So from here on out, just to make things a little less confusing, goodbye 11th place. Matchday 24. Man City's time in the top 4 lasts as long as the Denver Nuggets' first sleeveless uniform name, as they get humbled by Arsenal. This opened the door for Newcastle, who quickly went up against Fulham, but then they fumbled and lost 2-1. So now it was Chelsea's opportunity, but they went 1-0 down to West Ham before halftime. However, in a matter of 10 minutes, the Blues turned the game upside down and retake 4th place. 7th place Bournemouth finally suffered defeat at the hands of the league leaders. Their position doesn't change, but the Cherries are now 3 points from 4th. 8th place Villa also doesn't move, despite losing to 18th place Wolves. Fulham, who temporarily kept an oil club from the top 4, are rewarded with 9th place. And that was because Brighton lost to Forest 7-0. What the hell is going on in the Premier League right now? With that loss though, Brighton fall to 10th, and the gap from them to top 4 is now 9 points. Matchday 25. Fucking hell, man, what is this league? But oh man, does this set up an incredible game. 5th place Man City versus 6th place Newcastle. Winner goes into the top 4. Yeah, it wasn't even close. City won 4-0. And with how only 3 points separated 4th and 7th to begin this match day, Bournemouth with a win are now in the top 5, a point away from the Champions League. Also, 3rd place Forest is far from safe right now, and a loss to 9th place Fulham shrinks the difference between them and 5th to just 4 points. Meanwhile, Fulham with a 2nd straight victory go up 1 spot due to Aston Villa contracting the Craven Cottage virus and dropping points versus Ipswich. Oh yeah, there's also 10th place Brighton, who single-handedly caused this weekend's chaos to begin with, and now 7 points separate them from top 4. Again. Matchday 26, and for the first time in God knows how long, 4th place remains the same for 2 straight weekends. But don't get it twisted, it's not what you think. Because Man City lost, and so did 5th place Bournemouth, and 6th place Chelsea. So, after taking down 3rd place Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, as a result, is now tied with 4th place. Meanwhile, after slowly climbing up the table over the last few weeks, 8th place Fulham sees all their progress die after losing at home to the second half of the season merchants. We'll get back to them later though. Fulham falls to 10th, while Brighton and Aston Villa with wins in their respective matches move to 8th and 9th. Matchday 27, 3rd place Forest draw with Arsenal, and with City beating Spurs away, Forest are only a point above 4th. That's a lot of force. And only 2 points from 5th after Chelsea took care of business versus the Southampton Wizards. It's fine, it's whatever, people understand. Meanwhile, Newcastle fall to 6th after losing to the league leaders. No shame there though. 9th place Brighton is starting to make a comeback here late on, as they hand 6th place Bournemouth their 2nd straight loss. That sees Bournemouth drop down a spot, and thanks to Palace beating Villa, Brighton move up to 8th now. 10th place Fulham also overtakes Villa after beating Wolves. Matchday 28, a battle between 3rd versus 4th, and Nottingham Forest practically blow the roof off, as Callum Hudson-Odoi keeps the Champions League dreams alive in a crucial game versus Manchester City. Meanwhile, 5th place Chelsea get a 2nd straight victory for the first time in the new year. It's March, by the way. But despite all the problems they've had, the race for Champions League is so close that they once again overtake City for 4th. Tied with City, again, is Newcastle after they snatched a 1-0 victory in West Ham. 7th place Bournemouth may be running out of gas, because after going up 2-0 versus Spurs, they conceded twice in the last 25 minutes. Brighton, on the other hand, collect a 4th straight win thanks to a last-minute penalty, and the climb continues for them as they jump over Bournemouth into 7th. 3 points from the Champions League spots. Meanwhile, 10th place Aston Villa trade spots with Fulham thanks to their win versus 12th place Brentford. Matchday 29, Chelsea remain in the top 4 despite losing to strikerless Arsenal because City dropped points to Brighton and Newcastle was too busy with better endeavors. And with Forest victory versus Ipswich, they are now 6 points clear of 5th. Speaking of Brighton though, they're only just 2 points from 4th thanks to their draw. And behind them, 4 points from a Champions League spot is Fulham after they barely lifted a finger versus a shambolic Spurs side. The craziest thing is that 9th place Aston Villa are also that close to 4th, and that's because they managed to poach a point away from the league leaders. Meanwhile, Bournemouth have now gone 4 games winless and continue to fall in the table, but they are still only 5 points from the Champions League. Alright, we have finally reached up to date, so let's quickly look at how close it is in the table. After 28 games for Newcastle, Liverpool and Arsenal are pretty much safe if the chaos in 4th continues. The dream for Forest continues as they sit 3rd with a much more comfortable cushion than a few weeks prior. Chelsea hold on to the last Champions League spot despite losing as many times as they've won in 2025, and they can thank 5th place City struggles for that one. However, 6th place Newcastle are on fire and still have a game in hand as we mentioned before. But even then, nothing's certain for them either, and that opens the door to 7th through fucking 10th, which sees a 5-point gap between them and 4th. Brighton has been in the best form over the last few weeks, but don't count out Fulham because they've been grinding their way up for a bit now. Aston Villa's also there, but with Champions League football, that could pose problems for them. Also, it should be mentioned their schedule difficulty is insane, but we'll get back to that in a second. And while I'd personally love to see 10th place Bournemouth qualify for the Champions League, their campaign kinda had a peak, and now it's starting to fall apart. But with 8 to 9 games remaining in this ridiculous race for Europe, who does have the best chance to finish 4th? We're gonna base this entirely on future match difficulty because 538 shut down their website, or at least they shut down the Premier League predictions. And in this case, Newcastle has the easiest schedule of the bunch. Matchday 36 though, I would be really eyeing because they play Chelsea, and god, that could probably be the one that decides 4th place. Another set of matches to look forward to are Brighton Newcastle on matchday 35 if things continue the way they have, and Brighton Liverpool on matchday 37. In terms of most difficult schedules though, Fulham and Aston Villa are genuinely in hell. Villa still has to play an informed Brighton side, Forest, Newcastle, and City. And they also have the Champions League where they're facing a very informed PSG side right now. Fulham, on the other hand, it is honestly a lost cause unless a miracle happens because they still have to play City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea. But of course, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janusz Barasz, Lai Dice, Luke RBB, Aresan, Brazilian Fury, Jeremiah Usu Ajimang, Django, Adesir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Ulta, Miguel Munoz, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Slider Kid, Taco Ogafan, The Cypriot 35, Not Windows 95 Man, Kentra Agatra, Saint Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Wise Orange, Rashford Enthusiast, Cocosaurus Rex, Samu, Cheesebait, Winder Gel, M4 Dust Stuff, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portugizer, TPSK25, Polar Pros, Fun Fan, Lucian Von Kreuz, Kazegger Specialkiewicz, Mono Tango Fei, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Lickstab, Mutanai, Sketchy Car, KM89, Apollo, Congo Jazz 1, Jeremy Sayu 7, Thrilling ADT 13, Los Milos, The FedEx Dude, Freya, Vecino, Jamie Vardy's 10th Red Bull, Mad for Amadiallo, Adiel, Fuffanuki, Nightwalker, Knapside, Money Cash Hose, Kev C, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krez, Mohammed Al-Tanib, Niche, Patrick Barley, Raspberry God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member on the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch if you want. I'm probably uploading this video while I'm in Japan, so it's gonna be like a week or two or maybe a little bit more until I stream. But until then, I'll see you guys.